So we're thinking they're going to, at best, get a third this year. And probably, if they're smart, have to settle for a fourth in a conditional next year. Who's going to be giving them those offers? We think.
I think, to me, let's see, I've got 5 teams right here. So I've got Houston, Indy, Atlanta, Washington, Tampa Bay. Those are my 5 teams.
I got more.
Okay, let's do it.
Tennessee.
Okay.
I think Tennessee's the odds-on favorite. Oh, hold on. I got an email today. I'm a Big J journalist, so I get these like semi-junk emails of like prop bets and stuff. And Jared Kimball, who I don't know, shout out Jared Kimball, said Trey Lance next team odds. Hi, Grant. Just shy of 2 years after the San Francisco 49ers picked Trey Lance number 3 overall in the NFL draft, it appears the Trey Lance era is coming to an end out west. Earlier today, NFL media's Ian Rappaport reported that the Niners have been fielding calls about a potential trade for Lance, making it clear that Brock Purdy will likely be the club's long-term answer. Utilizing the trade rumor mill, BetCalifornia.com developed hypothetical odds. That doesn't help. That doesn't help me at all. Hypothetical odds of where Trey Lance will land if the Niners decide to officially move him in the coming days. That's why you have to read things. This is basically bullshit. Okay, sorry. Trey Lance next team odds. Niners, 18.2%. This is very scientific. Titans, 16.7%. Falcons, 16.7%. Buccaneers, 11.8%. Colts, 11.8%. Baltimore Ravens, 9.1%. Minnesota Vikings, 7.7%. And other, 8%. I'm going with other. Going with the field.
Hey, so they did have a few of my teams in there, though. They had Indy, they had Atlanta, they had Washington, they had Tampa. So
I was thinking Tennessee because of the Rand
smart.
Carthon and the Instagram post that Trey Lance put up.
Oh, that's true.
Kyle Shanahan acknowledged. So you're getting traded to the Titans. Remember he said that?
Yeah, I remember.
And also, hold on a second. So we just theorized that maybe there's a difference of opinion between Kyle and John. Maybe John's been on the phone with Tennessee. He knows Rand Carthon. I mean, they freaking work together. I would imagine they've probably had conversations and maybe they've gotten somewhere. And maybe John likes the offer and Kyle's like, no, I don't know. But Tennessee seems like a real natural to me. Just because of the John Lynch, Rand Carthon connection like this. Like that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely could be. I also think that there's connections in other places, right? Like Houston is an obvious connection, Miami, New York. There's some people in Washington now that Snyder's gone that are connections to San Francisco.
Mayhew. Real quick, Tennessee owns pick 72. That's their 3rd round pick. Good luck.
Okay.
I don't think they're getting it.
Yeah. I didn't even see. Does Washington, Tampa? I was looking at 2nd round picks. So like Atlanta has 44, Washington has 47, Tampa has 50,
Tennessee has 41,
35, Houston has 33.
Tampa has 19, 50, 82. Maybe the Niners could get 82, something like that. Detroit has 81. Indy has 79. Baltimore has 86. Minnesota has 87.
Yeah,
man, I want the Chiefs to trade for him. I want Andy Reid to show Kyle Shanahan how it's done. Come on, Andy. Do it like you did with Jerick McKinnon.
Turn him into a star and send him somewhere else.
Hell yeah. That's what Bill Walsh would do.
I'm just trying to look at it like, okay, we know at the top of the draft, rumor is if Bryce Young goes number 1, and now that's like the odds-on favorite, Bryce Young goes number 1, Houston is not going to take CJ Stroud because same agent as Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
They probably don't think Richardson's worth the pick, so they're going to go defense. Now, they do have pick like 12 or something.
They're going to make the Kyle Shanahan mistake.
Yeah.
Because D'Amico learned from Kyle. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So then you have pick like 12. Maybe Levis or somebody falls to you if you like them. Or you could go get Trey Lance. You could get a receiver at 12. You could get a defensive player at 2. Go that route. Then you got the Colts who, if everything falls into place, let's say CJ Stroud goes 1. Bryce Young goes 2. Somebody jumps the Colts at 3 and takes Richardson, who they really like. Let's say they like Richardson. Now you're stuck with Will Levis at 4. Well, if you don't like Will Levis, what do you do? Do you take Will Levis, or do you try to trade for Trey Lance and say, hey, we're going to take somebody with this 4th pick and we're going to build around Trey Lance, who's now coming in, and we've got Shane Steichen. Ding, ding, ding. Perfect fit. So,
yeah. Yeah, works for me. I don't see the Texans, if they pass on a quarterback in round 1, I don't see them taking Hendon Hooker. I like Hendon Hooker, but knowing Bobby Slowick and what a system coach he is, he's not going to go for Hendon Hooker because that's a spread quarterback who doesn't throw over the middle. He throws behind the line of scrimmage to the sideline and deep, just like Jalen Hurts. Doesn't fit what they're going to try to do in Houston. I don't see him going for him. So, yeah, if it ain't, I mean, I can see Bobby Slowick saying, I don't want to work with DTR either. That's another spread quarterback. So if they pass on quarterback in round 1, I could see them going for Lance because Bobby Slowick has worked with Lance. Lance can do that stuff theoretically. I can see it, Houston, and he could play. So I could see the Niners wanting to trade him to Houston because that all of a sudden a conditional pick from them is attractive. You figure, if he stays healthy, he could play 17 games or something.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it's interesting, at least some of the teams that we have listed here, if it's Houston and Indy, we're going to know very early in the draft if there's still possibilities. They both may go quarterback. And then we're like, okay, well, they're not in on Trey Lance. So who remains as we get to day 2 as a possible trade partner? And then it's all those other teams potentially. So we're going to know pretty early on if teams like the Colts and Texans are in on Trey Lance potentially.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be 2 different kind of teams. The teams like Houston that can play him right away, and then a team like the Titans who have a quarterback under contract for like 1 more year. So that's Ryan Tannehill with the Titans, Kirk Cousins with the Vikings, teams that want to transition away from the expensive, mediocre old quarterback, but might want to have a guy on the bench sort of learning their offense for a year. So that's where Hendon Hooker comes in. He tore his ACL. He might need a year. Trey Lance comes in. He's been on ice. You don't really know. So I think those kind of teams could be interested in Trey Lance as well.
Yeah. Detroit, maybe. They got Goff.
Detroit.
I don't know what his contract looks like, but.
Absolutely. And again, I think Tampa would be, what do they got?
Tampa's perfect fit.
Tampa be a real good fit. And I think would be cool for him is if he goes to like a real small market team. Like the Niners are nothing but drama. The Niners are a lot like the Cowboys where they get talked about a lot and everyone's got a freaking opinion about their players. Like you go to Tennessee, all of a sudden, no one cares. Tampa, I'm sorry, you live in Tampa. No one cares if you're on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers unless you're Tom Brady. So I think that would be good for Trey because he's just got an avalanche of criticism before his 5th start. He needs to just be under the radar, do your thing, focus on your craft without being overwhelmed by all this noise.
Yeah, and you give him, Godwin and Evans, you can work with that. So
yeah, absolutely. And all he has to do is compete with Baker.
Baker sucks, dude.
So bad. Timothy and people. It doesn't seem like any players like him.
No.
Bad actor too. Timothy Glander says Trey trade with lead to a Josh Johnson midseason.
Gosh.
Josh Johnson, man. Bund Hot Dog says Kyle wakes up every day and drinks 64 ounces of pickle juice. Wow. Says Bund Hot Dog. I got a bunless hot dog and a Bund hot dog over here.
Wait, Marcus there's a bunless and a bund in the chat?
Yeah, sometimes I get a bunless hot dog talking. Whoa. It's crazy, man. I know. Marcus King says, Grant, you and everyone else been reaching. Never. They aren't trading Lance after a season, getting 4 quarterbacks hurt, and Purdy might not be ready for season. You should make videos on the quarterback they will add. Dude, I've been making videos on the quarterback they will add, baby. What are you talking about, baby? What do you mean? DTR, have you not seen like my 8,000 videos about that UCLA quarterback that they are definitely going to take? Russ Button says Niners get quarterbacks hurt. Purdy won't play until game 5 at earliest. Niners need 2 starting quarterbacks. Trading Trey Lance makes no sense. Agree, and that's why I feel like it might be one person's bright idea, and there might be pushback, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. John Lynch speaks to the media in like 5 days. It's going to be great. Will Kyle let him do it on his own? Or will he crash the party? I don't know.
That'll actually be interesting. If he crashes the party, then that just adds to the drama for sure.
So good.
I hope that the media, that you guys somehow get the answers that we're looking for out of this thing. I feel like you guys did a really, really good job at the owners' meetings. Did a good job following up on each other's questions.
But we can't rest on our laurels. You got to keep it going.
Can't. So I know that a lot of times you go into there and you got your question that you want to ask because you got an article to write and whatever. I hope that everybody plays off of each other this time around again, because there's a lot of things that we need answered.
You know, the Niners kind of screwed themselves by trading all their picks, because if they had a first round pick, they could hide behind those questions. Hey, it's a draft thing. Can we keep it to draft questions? Like, dude, you got no first, second, third round pick.
Nobody cares.
None of us know who the hell's getting picked at 99 and after. We're beat writers. Let's talk quarterback. You did it to yourself, buddy. If you had a first round pick, we would all know the first round prospects and we would pretend like we have interesting questions asked, but you didn't do that. You're drafting Trey Lance. So let's talk about your first round pick that you're about to draft again.
Who's going to break the ice on that? Because I feel like the first person that's like, ooh, let me ask, they're going to be like, so you guys have a glaring weakness at right tackle and, maybe an edge rusher. Where are you guys leaning at pick 99?
Here's the way I look at it. Let me stick up for my coworkers for a second, because I dump on them too much, and they are my coworkers and I like them. I don't know if they like me. What I want to say is, you got to do some business. You can't. It's okay if you lead off with the right tackle question, if some draft questions. You're just warming them up, getting them in a good mood, and it's a 30-minute interview, and you do need some of that stuff. So get that out of the freaking way. Get that out of the way. 5-7 minutes, and then an OG will step in, like Matty Mayoko, most likely, and say, John, there's been a report. There's been like 4 or 5 reports we got to ask about. But he'll say, John, there's been a report from me and Rappaport that, and then just see what he says. And then we'll follow up 3-4 times. And Eric Branch will have a question. I'll have a question. I think we'll do our job. And then someone else will say, well, there was another report about this. And you and Rob will do a good job of reminding me of all the freaking reports we have to ask him about, all the leaks. But I mean, that's how it's going to go. And the thing about John is he's not like Kyle. Kyle gets impatient. Kyle gets defensive. Which is cool. It's kind of entertaining. John is very smooth and he has finesse. And he said, that's a good question, Grant. That's a great question, Maddie. But he doesn't always say much, or it's kind of hard to decipher what he's saying. So he's tough to pin down. He invites the questions, but his answers are sometimes confusing.
I can't wait till the video drops. You ask him and he's like, Grant, that's a good question. We really like Trey a lot. We like him on the team right now. And then the video drops of him like touching everything on his head. Like, oh, clearly.
That's the other nice thing about the John Lynch stuff, is you can kind of like, he's the worst liar of all time.
Yeah.
He's awful. He's fun. It's fun to watch him just try to bluff. It's pretty good.
Yeah.